The boys from Melbourne with a decisive win for game number 1.
Very decisive.
Analysis.
Analysis, great question. So again, coming from Silver 5, what can you do in a situation like that? What a lot of pro gamers don't realize that we've realized in Silver 5 is that games are often over by the draft. And if you get a bad draft, all you have to do is crash out of the program and re-queue.
That's very interesting.
According to the rules of League of Legends, you get to play a different game.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I like that we're giving something back to the pro community.
Did you have any suggestions?
Well, I think, again, and, you know, yours is kind of along the same lines as mine, which is, again, about absolving myself of any responsibility.
Very smart.
Yeah, which I think, again, pro players are not necessarily on top of.
Not
my
like
advice
bronze.
there would be, not a bronze, no. My advice there would be, if you feel like the game is not going well, if you feel like we're headed towards a loss, you don't have to play anymore. And you can just head back to base and you can just stay there for as long as you want, as long as you move just enough so that you don't get kicked out of the game for being AFK.
I'll go you one better. A lot of people think that you have to stay there. You can actually just go onto mid lane and start dancing.
I mean, these are things
These are new strategies.
new crazy poro changes, new meta.
Sometimes it's what you have to do.
It's a whole new world here for League of Legends. But we also have a bunch of stories that you guys have submitted. We have found the best ones that have come in for you to win 2 tickets to the Melbourne Esports Open to see the OPL finals. But everyone who is about to get mentioned here, you are going to take home some skins and Hextech chests for yourself. So everyone is a winner, except, of course, for the people who haven't picked, who are not winners.
And can I just say that I noticed that one of them that isn't on the list that I quite enjoyed is that somebody wrote a deeply horny fic featuring Ezreal and Tarek, which you haven't put in here, interestingly.
Well, look,
no, that's fine.
I support the relationship.
There's no accounting for personal taste.
I just don't feel like Riot would appreciate. I feel like I already push Riot as far as Riot is willing to be pushed. And that may have tipped me over the edge and into unemployment. Our first story comes in from Hot Delphox, who says, Jack said, let me at him, and hit lots of people with his lamp post.
And that's great storytelling, right? Because they have set it up and then there's payoff. So I think in 30 words, I think that's really good.
And they didn't even need 30 words. It was beautiful. And we know the character. We know the thing that the character wants to do.
Conflict resolution.
Exactly. And faceless villain, which I think represents traditional media.
Oh, very nice. Very, very interesting hot take. Draconic Plays had one, which was, one day the Yordles stumbled upon a world rune, then they achieved world domination, a play in 2 acts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the middle act is important.
You think so?
Well, it's a bit sort of like, what's that thing of come up with an idea, question mark, profit? Like the middle part there of they got a world rune and then the world domination, what happened in between?
Yeah, look, you're right, it's full of holes. I'm sorry, Draconic Plays. It's strong, but maybe not the strongest.
But it is open for a prequel or a sequel. NZ Smite, of course, cannot win because he is Technoholding's manager, but I thought I would throw this in for Jake. Jake's feeling a little sick. He needs a bit of a cheer up. There would be no travel today, no soaring through the sky. There was no need. They step into the arena, and the Melbourne crowd simply roared. The boys from Melbourne.
I like that one.
That is
one
incredible.
Blatantly playing to the car.
Look, of course, it's lovely because you cannot win.
I also just choked on camera, by the way. That facial expression, what that was.
Was you slowly dying?
I have a lozenge in my mouth, and now I no longer does. Because it's about halfway down my throat.
I mean, how awful would NZ Smite feel that trying to cheer you up ultimately killed you?
I think, yeah, even if
I'm
you've got a
okay,
prize
I
at that
promise.
point, you probably lose the prize.
That's very true.
Nadette had this one, and it comes with a title, which is The Bounty Hunter and the Saltwater Scourge, a 30-word story. So that's overkill. Didn't ask for a title. If anything, you're trying too hard. Your story, however, goes, any last words? The redhead scoffed, hues as blue as the ocean that raised her, staring down the pirate along with dual barrels. The burgers are better at Hungry Jack's. Blatantly, again, playing to the sponsor. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
You won! No. We haven't decided yet. We haven't decided yet.
Also, she's brave enough to let Jews do her lipstick on broadcast.
That's true.
So that's some bonus points coming into this week's challenge, you know?
I feel that's totally true. For context, she sent in a picture of herself because Juice was doing such good painting of the lips of Gragas. She was like, do my lipstick, sent in a picture of herself for that. We didn't kidnap her or put her in the studio, and Juice just put lipstick on her for no reason.
Yeah, that is the plot of Silence of the Lambs.
It really is. At Vendra Ose said, this is corny, but let's just go with it. League has been the driving force behind a lot of my growth in the last few years. Without it and the community, I would not be where I am today. So not a story about League of
A
Legends.
little bit less negativity, though.
But yeah, you know, no one died. No one...
No physical assaults.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like, you know, the positivity there is hopeful.
And then I have Jay McPherson, NZ, presumably from New Zealand, who has regret-filled Zoe as she collapsed. She still had so much to see. Mustering strength, she looked up. Yasuo's level 7 champion mastery flashing above her head. Her vision faded. Hashtag don't make me sad like Zoe. Hashtag I need those tickets. Hashtag it was really hard to fit that into 30 words.
There you go. And
Did
I
all
feel
the
like the hashtags don't count.
push it over?
No, I feel like the hashtags don't count. It's not part of the
Okay.
story.
No, that's allowed. Yeah.
It's
Is a
outside of the
hashtag
context.
one word?
Oh.
It's all combined and it's all a blue link.
Which means you
so-
could do an
camel casing.
yeah.
You could do a 6,000 word story as a hashtag.
You could. It'd be very hard to read, though.
Yeah.
And our final submission came in from Daniel Abro, who said, "For sale, Ward skin never used," which is a very nice play.
For sale, Ward never used would be more
Well,
bronze.
that's what I read in the first play. I think that's brilliant. So we need to pick a winner, and you're the storyteller, so please hit me with it.
Look, I love a bit of a bait and switch, so I actually am quite fond of Nadette's sort of quite serious story that ends up into a blatant ad for a very popular chain of burgers who are just ready to support things.
I was right. You did win. I wasn't even trying to
Hey!
convince it. Well, congratulations,
How
Nadette.
did NZ Smite not win this competition?
Because he's ineligible.
He's ineligible. He can't. He's affiliated with a team, mate.
I don't think that's a problem.
Well, of course you'd say that. Well, congratulations to Nadette. You have won yourself 2 tickets to the Melbourne Esports Open to see the OPL Grand Final in September. We will see you there. Maybe Jews can put lipstick on you in person this time.
Ooh.
Every time we've panned back to Jake's face today, he's just had a look of disgust. And it's Nick's
I feel
fault.
like I'm getting
It's
some
Nick's
tough
fault.
tosses today. I really do feel like I'm being put under the pump in how I am having to receive conversations. That one, I wouldn't have touched that one like with a... That is
With a 10-foot pole?
Absolutely not. We are about to get into game
Yes,
2
we
of
are.
Legacy versus Order. Order, the boys from Melbourne, Bryce, were able to pick up the winning game number 1. Pretty emphatic fashion, yet not a shellacking by any extent of the word.
yeah, what was it, 28 minutes?
28 minutes,
Shellacking's
yeah.
under 25.
Yeah.
Oh, that is...
Atlas used it the other day.
Oh, did he?
I
Did
like
he use
Atlas.
it wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, did you send him a message?
It was like 26:45.
Oh, that's pushing it.
It was close.
It's not even like 25's X, 25,
No.
40 seconds.
It's 24 number
59.
number. Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as it 25.
Like, that's the cutoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was saying it wasn't even like 25 something.
No.
Like, the game was 26.
Yeah.
That is a disaster. Maybe game number 2, if Order just pick CC and they pick a whole bunch of damage, then maybe they can get a shellacking
But
game
let's
number
talk
2.
about that because Order as a team, they have shown us different stuff. They've played Majors top, they've
Yep.
played Fast Push, they've played Funnel,
Mhm.
they played Jana support for a little bit as well, and yet every single time they lose Bryce, they just come back to the OPL and they pick Kai'Sa, 2 forms of CC tanks, and just run at the enemy team.
And, I mean, look, it's not broke, don't fix it. It's absolutely working. You know, they fell down early, only had some very good pathing. The man on your screen had a pretty rough first couple of clears, but ultimately, it was not to be. Either is Yokov. As Legacy once again coming into game number 2, just going to ban away the Galio. Order going to match with that Lucian ban. Not willing to deal with any Lucian Braum shenanigans, and there we go.
It turns out that whilst strepsils and other lozenges are good for your throat, being applied directly to throat is not a good way to consume the product. As I apologize to everyone at home that just had to listen to me cough into my live microphone.
Normally, you hit the talkback button and you just cough into the producer's ears. So, unfortunately, you're just giving the folks at home a bit of the broadcast
That's
room
not true at
treatment.
all. I have coughed into the producer's ears once today, and at that point, I also held down the button and I said, I am so sorry. Lucian, as well as Mundo, banned away, and it's going to be Galio, as well as Morgana. Aatrox banned on blue side.
Yeah. That is, that's pretty interesting. You know, last week versus Chiefs, Order got baited into picking that one in the top side. And unfortunately, it was not a victory, so...
Yeah, he took top lane turret in 8 minutes.
Yeah, he did. And then he got absolutely outscaled.
True.
Yes.
But I feel like as a top laner, if you take top lane turret in 8 minutes,
It's a pretty strong top
you
laner.
deserve to win the game.
Okay. But that might be fair. On the other side, we have the Rakan Morgana bans. I feel like last week was the split Rakan Morgana. This week, absolutely, everybody just attacking them together. And that's a very early Tahm Kench pick. Maybe Decoy saw the changes coming, saw it all over Twitter, saw it all over Reddit, and is like, look,
there's one more chance.
I have one patch to play with Tahm Kench before his Devour's on a 90-second cooldown.
Before, it's not 90.
Oh, no, of course not. It's like 24, yeah. 24 down to 12.
Yeah.
And at the moment, it starts at 12, I think. It gets to like 9, 8. Yeah. So, literally gets doubled. That's pretty rough.
Bummer. It's going to be an Orianna hover right now. The Aurelion Soul performed very well into the Orianna. Surprised if they go back towards it, but they do go for that pickup.
Given that Legacy are on red side, they can just hold their mid lane 4 counter picks, so ultimately might not be able to.
I see an Alistar in my future.
So he goes for the blind pick. Feel like you might absolutely be right. Alistar, outside of the laning phase, Tahm Kench answers pretty well, but in terms of AoE lockdown, you can lock down multiple members. Then, ooh, okay, that's not an Alistar. That is the Drowned Man.
We said we hadn't seen him play it. You said that you had seen him play it. And I've obviously seen him play it.
Yep. So now the world gets to see him play it.
Pressure's on,
and that's going to be the Pyke in the bottom side. I'm interested to see that Only just went back for the Nidalee. Like, he didn't have a bad game by any respect. Probably had a pretty good game. And just going to run it back here against the Talia. It's exactly the same matchup, so wants to do exactly the same thing, you think. Varus will be the lock-in, so going for a more CC composition here. You have the safety of the Tahm Kench instead of going for something like the Ezreal.
This makes more sense to me. This looks much more like a Legacy comp. You know, you have the ability to save one of the carries. Raid is on unlimited scaling on Varus, to be perfectly frank. The build is so expensive that you never get there in the end, and he does a ton of damage.
Yep.
And they just have much better utility across the board right now.
They absolutely do. Different draft style coming out for them here. And Ezreal actually gets banned away, so they don't want to give Order the ability to pick that one up.
And this is where scrim culture becomes very interesting.
Okay.
Because obviously Legacy has played a ton of scrims this week, probably 2 every day for 6 days, something like that. And they have first picked Ezreal, and now they have banned Ezreal.
Yeah.
A pick that we really haven't seen much priority outside of FBI played it last week, I think. So is this where, like, you know, speakers, like, obviously I can't see Legacy scrims, but speak me through, like, is this something where in scrims it's just working, so you play towards it in pro play, even though it hasn't worked there yet?
It's something you see mostly in the first weeks of patches, because depending on the opponents you play in scrims, obviously you figure out what's good. And, like, obviously Legacy aren't scrimming Order this week because they're playing in the OPL, so maybe Legacy have been scrimming other teams. Order have a different mix, so you have different almost mini regions within scrims, within Oceania, and then each has their own meta. They come to stage. Legacy's like, look, first pick Ezreal. Didn't work game number 1, so they don't go back to it, but they still think it's very strong. So given that Order don't pick their AD carry in the first 3, they do just ban it away. They respect it.
It's going to be Ornn as well as Camille banned away. Draven hovered. Shout out to Lost. One of the better Draven players on the server. Used to play it a lot into Ezreal, actually.
Do we have any AD carries in the current OPL that will play Draven in a competitive match? I kind of want to say Raze. Maybe. Do we have any Draven players?
Without giving too much away.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, my bad. My bad, Jake. Threw you under the bus a little bit there, but that's okay.
That's all right. Bummer.
Yeah. Aurelia does get locked in on the other side. That's a champion.
There's a couple of very short-range AD carries that might be seeing some popularity right now that Draven does a good job against because they lack CC. How about that one for a vague reference?
Yeah, Kai'Sa did just get locked in. Oh, that's interesting. That's pretty unique. Let's talk about the Aurelia. We've seen that more top lane than anything else recently. People have been taking it up there. Kind of fell off middle lane for the most part, but with a Gnar lock in, it's going to go back to mid.
Certainly is. See whether it can pressure out Orianna, a laner that historically has beaten out melees through nothing else other than shove priority.
Yep.
If you can kill Orianna, you can force her off the wave. If you can't kill her, she just pushes it in.
Yep.
And Dissonance takes her anywhere she wants to go.
And that's the thing. If you look at the trajectory of game number 1, that was an Aurelion Soul in Swiffer's hands. So there's no forcing him away from priority as soon as you fall behind. But if Only gets a similar sort of lead, then he's going to have lanes to play through this time. You have CC, you have damage and setup from Claire. You can rotate 2-man buddy system to the side lanes and cause all sorts of havoc. So pretty interesting across the board.
Certainly is. Also interesting that we're seeing Cho'Gath. Tally was playing Vladimir, Swain, Darius. Lots of carries in the top lane. The whole split so far, to be honest. And now We've seen an Ornn game and we've seen a Cho'Gath game.
We saw a lot of Ornn in the earlier weeks as we talked about game number 1, but as you mentioned, is going back to the tanks this time. Maybe it's like a Legacy-specific thing. They think that Legacy's top side of the map is their strong point, so they want to play through FBI and Rogue. This is double Kai'Sa games, like double traditional AD carry, which I feel like FBI has been light years better than he has on Majors. Is far more successful. Once again, Spooks goes towards the Talia, so they're looking for these priority matchups to then play through their aggressive bottom lane, and maybe that's what we're seeing with Tally picking up the tanks.
And obviously game time is much shorter this split by a good healthy couple of minutes. However, FBI was pumping out about 920 damage per minute last split. However, this split is around the 590, 600 mark, so Majors do damage too, but certainly seems to outperform on the traditional AD carries, as you said. We are into the game for game number 2 of Order versus Legacy. Spooks forgot a trinket, runs back and grabs one for himself. We are also joined by Aaron, head coach of
Hello.
Order. How are you?
I'll also say that I think a yellow trinket goes into your inventory after 30 seconds.
Yeah, no, it goes into your inventory after you leave the base. It's not even a
there you
time
go.
thing. So
Doesn't matter if you don't pick it
You
up.
get out the base gates. It does. You lose a few seconds. So there is an efficiency point to be
okay.
made in terms of going back and buying it. But
Yeah, Aaron.
I'll
just
digress.
buy a yellow trinket, you lazy. But talk to me about, obviously, disappointing week last week for Order when we
Thanks, Jay.
lost to the Chiefs. What's this week been like?
This week's been a lot better, I'd say. We've gone back to a lot of our traditional compositions. We're trying to go back to what really worked for us. I guess last week we tried to diversify ourselves, and I mean a lot of teams, Chiefs, a lot of teams have that week where it doesn't go according to plan, and we're slowly approaching and trying to fix everything so we can come into the gauntlet with like a lot of compositions up our sleeve. But obviously last week didn't show that too well.
And I want to talk about someone in particular, and that is Rogue. It's going to be the first Pike game we've seen from him this split. We've seen Kuden pop off earlier today. Saw a very good Pike from Cupcake. Is he happy to put his hat into the ring? We haven't seen it competitively, but I know he's been practicing.
He's been loving Pike, and I think he really hates it when he sees another support taking it. But they did blind time this game, and Pike is probably the best pick into that. So yeah, we would be fools if we didn't give him that.
And obviously, you're a mid laner yourself, not too dusty. What is it? How have we come from Yasuo Aurelia every game into funnels, and now Majors are just back with Avengers? Actually, hold that thought. We're going to actually see Decoy burn the flash, gets hooked back immediately, and they do give first blood over to FBI. Very well done by Spooks. But what's going on with mid lane?
Mid lane, well, it's kind of funny because Orianna didn't get changed, but then people realized like
She's still good.
Zoe's really strong, and someone in solo queued picked Orianna, and it did pretty well. So I mean, that's kind of like the story of these patches lately. Is all these champions that have been untouched? That's the whole point with Funnel and Bruises in bot lane, is that no one really knows like what is going on. But like if you can play it to like a good level, then you can pull it out in competitive.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time today.
No worries.
That is Choo Choo's head coach of Order. As we see, first blood went down, Bryce.
Yeah.
What happened?
Very early. Flash was used by Decoy. Was trying to hold it to the last possible second. Rogue channeling up the Harpoon for just so long, and unfortunately, Decoy flashes, gets hooked back, and it was a very easy cleanup from that point. No ability to get out. Talia does so much damage, and FBI was the recipient of the first blood, so that's super nice. Not to mention, he's actually gone for TP this game, not the heal on the traditional AD carry, so doesn't even need to find a good window to base, can kind of just go back and spend that gold whenever he wants.
Mimic, Spider Sense tingling, will back away from the wave as Spooks pops his head up, however. Now knows that he's warded a different brush, so this is clean for now. And will knock him out of the hop. Silence is there. Auto attack means that he applies red buff. The flick misses. That is a guaranteed flick, and he doesn't land it. Now in the bottom lane, Spear doesn't land either, so FBI will get to safety.
And I'm honestly surprised Spooks just doesn't flash with Mimic. He'd applied the red buff, so he has more movement speed. You are quicker. So ultimately, the Q would continue to land. This is an interesting turn of events in the mid lane.
Certainly is. That's going to be the stun thrown out from Claire. You can see the flash as well as the cleanse burn from Swiffer, and only the ignite from Claire.
And that's the thing, you look at the summoners. We didn't get to see it on screen because of the top gank, but stun must have landed onto the Orianna. Burnt both summoners. Ignite came out. Claire looking for the all-in. Swiffer this time, not Aurelion Soul, doesn't have TP, so it was a very, very slow walk back to mid lane, and Claire gets to shove that one in.
Meanwhile, bottom lane, you see both of these supports trading health very efficiently. only still is in behind the order bottom lane, potentially looking for something.
Rogue is actually going up and aggressive, looking for a harpoon. FBI.
Raid. Lots of Varus's damage early does come from early game damage does come from abilities.
Yep.
Actually, that's
that
a
was
flash forward. That's the ignite down as well, even though it missed. Now he gets licked. Spear will not land. Can they fight in the creep wave? Not looking to turn at all.
But that was very poor timing from Order's bottom lane. Even if that lands, Decoy would have popped the grey health, and there absolutely would not have been the ability to kill through a Nidalee gank as well. FBI would have had to back away, so maybe a little bit of miscommunication there, not keeping track of only on the Nidalee. Spent a lot of time bot side. Went for that gank earlier, did not quite land, and then walked towards, took away the golem. Spooks is answering on the other side of the map.
I think every now and again you get a bit hyphy. You think, you know what? Puppers was going off. I can
It's my
do that.
turn.
As now, dash forward out of Claire. However, very nice stun.
Honestly, if the ground wasn't there for Spooks, I feel like Claire honestly would have been willing to dash through, but would have taken all of the damage from the pebbles, so holds off for the most part. Spooks is trying to get his mid laner. A little bit of pressure, wanting to break the freeze. Claire holds on to 2 range creeps, so we'll hold on to the freeze for just a little while longer.
Yeah, it'll slowly push back. That's why Swiffer's absolutely nowhere near the creep wave right now. And, I mean, this is what Claire does. Claire's a very good mid laner in his own right, as you said. Spooks left him out of the OG club, even though he's been around for forever.
Just as long. Pink ward placed in the tri bush. They don't clean it. Decoy is pretty far behind the Varus here.
Do they go onto Decoy? Yes, they do. They will pull him back over the head, and now he's taking so much damage. Meanwhile, mid lane, it's actually Swiffer that has fallen down. Decoy will die as well. And now Raid takes a lot of damage.
That's very nice target selection. They know the flash cooldown is still about a minute from coming up for Decoy. As soon as he walks up, because he's trying to defend Raid, he thinks the hook is going to land. Varus pull back and he wants to eat him out of CC, but ultimately, the Catfish just becomes the target and Decoy falls down round number 2.
And do they actually pick themselves up the Dragon right now? Because you can see big priority being put on the top side of Summoner's Rift by Legacy. Doesn't look like they're going to go for it. Instead, they go for the chip damage of the turret. Interesting choice at this stage of the game.
Yep, and yes, it absolutely is. This mid lane matchup as well. Flash now burnt from Claire to get that all in. So once again, we did not see it. But this counter pick for the Aurelia is absolutely popping off for Claire so far, having a very good start to the game.
Certainly is. It's going to be level 5 picked up for FBI. Has both of the kills. Go back and get himself a pickaxe right now. And this lane, whilst I would hate to call it over, is going to be what I like to call rough.
Yeah.
For the Varus.
AKA over for a bootless Tahm Kench, and he goes back as well on the Varus, picks himself up the Zerka's Greaves, so isn't dealing any damage whatsoever here, as FBI, as you mentioned, will go back and pick up a whole lot of damage for himself. Of course, TP'd back earlier with the BF sword, kind of netted them that kill. And we're going to see what happened in the mid lane. Very nice stun predict from Claire. Spear lands only around. They get the execute damage. Flash comes out and just an easy cleanup onto a summonless Orianna. As soon as the CC lands, they both just commit. One turret shot is all they get in return, and that's a kill.
Meanwhile, Tally has soloed Mimic.
Ooh. Yes.
Riddle me that one, Bryce.
I don't know.
Forensic scientist Bryce is going to walk us through. So teleport as well as flash was used.
Oh, I reckon he landed the silence, and then he flashed forward and he hit him with a feast.
And Tally gave him a couple of question mark things as
Yeah.
well. Meanwhile, mid lane, Claire goes back in and picks up another kill. Spooks is here trying to chase them down. However, needs to be careful because only also over the wall gets a very nice spear in. And Spooks flashes the wrong way. And double kill for Claire.
And the mid-jungle 2v2 for Order is in all sorts. Flashes back towards the enemy Nexus. And just dies for free. What was that?
You don't want to give a red buff over in that kind of situation. As FBI was level 6, so could have aggressed onto that. However, Decoy now with full summoner spells.
And that's a 0-2 Orianna. Claire goes back, picks up his Phage, already has the Merc Treads as well, so is only getting further and further ahead. And as Legacy, the mid lane is such a good point to be able to play through. You can float that top, you can help out Mimic, you can float that bot and help out Raid and Decoy, whereas for Order, if they don't have mid priority, it's so hard to continue the pressure on the bot side. FBI is incredibly strong, but with a matchup like Pyke and Kai'Sa, it's very hard to just straight up force a straight 2v2, and without mid priority, getting jungle help down here is going to be tough.
However, level 6 now has been achieved for FBI and Rogue, so they have a legitimate kill threat in a very small amount of time with the Ignite, and not to mention the fact that now finally the Pyke can potentially leave the lane. He's going to have to dash away. No, ult coming out of Raid was a little bit interesting there because Flash still isn't available for Rogue.
Yep, could have been a kill. Infernal Drake at the bottom side is still up and available. We mentioned it was the first one to spawn. Order did not take it earlier when they got those early kills. Instead opted for a bit of an invade into mid-chip damage. So Drake is still on the map. Claire just dancing around the mid lane. Swiffer just got himself a blue buff, so if he dies now, he's going to be very upset.
And still double buffs available for the mid laner of Legacy. 2 levels up over Swiffer right now.
He's so big. So incredibly strong. Mimic now, despite losing the 1v1 matchup, rotating down. Mid-priority with only a round means that Claire gets to shove it in absolutely for free. Order know what's going on. There's vision over the wall, but can they stop?
There's no teleport available. Teleport is up for Mimic. He's Meganar right now. You can see rooted, and that's big damage coming out, so potentially they can look for the fight after this. However, they don't go for it, so Infernal Drake goes over to Legacy. Well played.
Dragon gets picked up, and unfortunately for FBI, the W goes slightly wide, so could not dash into the fight if he wanted to. Of course, Ray did get chunked out a whole lot, sitting at about 50% now that he's healed back up through both of his refillable pot stacks. Doesn't have TP as well, so if FBI does stick around and pressure the turret with Rogue, there's definitely potential for a dive there, but it does just look like a recall's coming out from Order.
And it is completely even gold, but 1,000 of it is sitting in, FBI's back pocket, 1,000 of it is sitting in the mid lane back pocket. 500 for Tally versus Mimic and 500 for only over Spooks. So really it is about which part of the map plays better at this stage.
Yep. Infernal Drake definitely going to favor Legacy in that regard. Claire wanting to just shove this one in and potentially look for a recall of his own.
Yeah, Claire going to enjoy the benefits of the Infernal Drake. Varus not so much until the game gets a little bit later, unfortunately, as he goes for mainly an attack speed build.
Of course, it buffs your AD, so especially when you're, well, it buffs your AD and your AP when you're almost a majority magic damage threat. With that Ginsu, things like that could be pretty interesting. Crab is spawning on the top side, so
on again, that is going to be big damage out onto Decoy.
And it's interesting to talk about whilst there's a little bit of a lull. Decoy blowing his E in that situation, because you have to kind of gauge how much damage you're going to take as a Tahm Kench, and then pop your bubble at halfway, so that you take the damage for the grey health to accrue, and then take the other half to just take away the grey health. Because the regeneration rate of your E got nerfed patches ago, seasons ago, things like that. So it's definitely changed over the course and evolution of Tahm Kench as a support player. And it's pretty interesting to see players using it optimally, as he did it quite well there.
One more time, Ray takes a lot of damage. If that W had a hit, would have been probably at half. Stormrazor's initial crit just makes Kai'Sa's laning phase feel a lot better. We talk about this for short range carries a lot, but you know, it just seems to be favoring the matchup right now.
Because also she wants to walk in with her E and then get an auto attack and hit you with the Q, maybe one more and walk away. Unless she's looking for that all-in, she does very small bursty trades, and if your first auto attack is just a crit.
Oh, that was a very nice hit. Now they're going to turn it around. Ultimate not available. It is available for Ray, but they don't pull the trigger.
He has
Four
flash.
members are heading down. Rogue will dodge out on that spear. Got to question why there was no ulti.
All of a sudden, Hook landing on the back end once again. Decoy has Devour on cooldown, so they're not looking.
That is a big amount of damage. That's a Talia wall across to cut off the retreat. Do they go for the all-in? No. Teleport coming forward, and Spooks get solo. Now the ultimate has finally been thrown out. Tally also going to join the fray. He cancels a 2-kill advantage for Legacy, and they're not done. Claire down here looking for the dive. That will be a Tahm Kench ultimate coming across. Very well played from FBI to live.
He gets himself out, but time and time again on the bottom side of the map for Order, they keep overcommitting to plays. Yes, they get a very nice trade onto Raid. He gets taken down incredibly low, but like in the earlier gank, they burn the flashes, they go forward, and the collapse is just there. This is what I was talking about. Claire's priority in mid lane means that only gets the fast track. He comes down, he solos out Spooks on the Talia, and Swiffer can do nothing in the middle side of the map.
Completely agree. And meanwhile, FBI says, I've had enough of this one. Flips the map in half with Order R 2,000 gold down right now.
Yep. They lose the turret, but there's no Dragon for Legacy to stick around and take, so there's no real trade from the point that they died on the other side of the map. So FBI, decisive TP, gets himself top side as he finishes his first item, so might just be able to take down this turret. Cheats tempo a little bit.
Yeah, no Tahm Kench ulti. Also allows Spooks first access to Rift Herald. And this is a full reset coming out of Legacy. So they're in recovery right now. Turret will take about 90, 80, 90% of its health. And Herald will fall.
The gold lead still Just going further and further in favor of Legacy at this point. Claire, still very big, doesn't have any more kills, but the fact that they floated their pressure mid down to bottom side, that was looking like a big sinking hole that was only getting bigger. Every time a hook landed from Rogue, you saw the burst damage that came out was huge, and Decoy had to devour immediately. All of a sudden, the bottom lane is a little bit more even across the board, about 350 gold between the two. Gwinsu's first item for Raid is going to be a big spot. Actually, sorry, Bork, actually.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Probably wanted to go towards Bork. Actually, Swiffer in
Swiffer?
big trouble. Has to burn the flash here. No, Tally is actually coming forward. Huge shockwave, and only will just get eaten and taken down. Knock up will force the flash out of Claire.
And such a huge silence. All only needed was to transform with the ulti and land an auto attack. Red buff would have been enough to take him down, but slightly flash silences denies the ability for only to look for the kill, and he actually loses his life.
And Tally has been wildly inconsistent. But when he has looked good this split, has won order games single-handedly. We're talking about the Vladimir performance as well as the Darius performance. And then obviously into BioPanther picked up order their only victory. This game and this series has looked very on point.
Absolutely has. Across the board items starting to get completed. Triforce now for the Aurelia in the mid lane. Swiffer also finishes the Ludens, but stopwatches at this time just going to be a tool to keep him alive.
Yeah, Darkstar Cho'Gath recall animation is sick, and of course 100% of proceeds of that skin go towards the Headspace organization. Such a cool like thing that Riot is doing, and also just a really sick skin.
Absolutely is, and they actually...
Hook is on, that will
lands.
be big damage coming out, and he will use the ultimate. That's a lot of damage mitigated, and he just blows him up. Claire dancing around in circles will be saved now and will get healed up. 2 kills go over to Legacy.
And that's the 2 versus 1. He gets saved on the backside by Decoy, but takes down both of the bottom lane from Order, and that's their strong point right now. Kaiser is so big working on 2 items.
Certainly is. Knock-up will miss, and Swiffer going to clear out this wave eventually. Shockwave lands onto 2. In goes Mimic, but he has to hop back out. Will get flicked, and now the knock-up is there, and this is Legacy again, maybe overextending. Very nice use of the Zhonya's, but
missed
Boots
time.
actually missed time. In goes only double knock-up again. Is it eat there? No, it is not, but big damage coming across. Claire will miss that stun this time, and the very nice flash. Claire still dancing around, still looking for the damage. Rogue will get 1 with the ultimate. Looks like the shutdown did come across for the Aurelia.
And such a long fight between these two teams, constantly overcommitting to the play. Rogue was about 100 HP from just resetting after resetting in that fight and cleaning up multiple kills, but did not find the initial pick. The flash came out of Raid and doesn't quite find it. Legacy do very well to answer. Once again, Spooks sitting 1 and 3. Swiffer doesn't have the damage at this point, despite Tally like setting up knock-up after knock-up. They just couldn't follow up, and they might just lose their mid-turret for it.
It was a very smart initial shockwave, but you're right, after the shockwave, like even that didn't do damage. It was just a good reposition, and then the rest of the fight looked promising, but Claire's so big.
And that's the thing. Feast means that Mimic dies immediately. Spooks, with a very quick flash, gets himself out here, only has to commit further, so there's constantly just flashing health bars that are baiting them to look for that extra kill. Stun lands for a second time, Claire, and that's the damage just wasn't there from Rogue. He does pick up only on the backside, but if he killed Raid with the ulti, it would have killed only, and then probably would have killed Decoy as well, and that could have been a different fight, but ultimately, Legacy come out just fine.
And mid lane turret is safe, and it's going to be red buff stolen away as well. That's an Expiration Herald used mid lane. It should be stopped, probably should have gone bot. However, wall comes across, and that might just take the turret.
Yep, Wave's going to die very quickly to a Kai'Sa Orianna. 1 charge is all it needs, and they're absolutely going to get it here, so Weaver's wall. Very creative use there, actually gets them a mid lane turret.
Yeah, that was a great Weaver's wall. Mimic going to transform, and it's an air Drake. Legacy just can't buy some RNG for them. If that was another Infernal, they are strong right now and would like to fight.
Yep, and you see the top lane, this matchup, going heavily in the favor of Tally. You expect the Null. Last game, you saw the Black Cleaver into the Wit's End, wants to go for that split push build. And now 40 CS behind. At a fault of his own this time. Last game it was the team getting picked off, but Mimic just fell down very early in the lane phase and now doesn't have the threat to pressure the side lane, so is forced to group time and time again, and that leads to the CS lead we're seeing.
Big Wave just pushed into top lane turret. Only actually doesn't go take it either, so that just is all dying for naught right now.
I mean, they lose 3 or 4 minions, but Claire ultimately will just go pick that one up. There was probably a cannon there as well, so You just get to witness the marvel that is Aurelia, one-shotting everything. That is super nice. Does he get a red buff as well? Only's already got one. But does he give it to Raid or does he give it to Claire?
I think he give it to Raid at this stage of the game. Has got himself the 2 items. Is certainly still behind, but not in as big a way as it was earlier in this game.
Wants to finish that Glimpses, and same can be said for the Kai'Sa across the board. And Legacy have done super well to shut down the Kai'Sa. You have tools like the disarm from Aurelia ulti in a fight. If that lands onto FBI, then all of a sudden a huge damage threat for Order is taken out of the fight. Swiffer did land a very big shockwave, but going for the Zhonya's second item as well as being 0-2 is a little bit behind the curve in terms of what Claire can dish out in terms of damage. So Legacy, if they are the proactive team and they can find the picks with Raid's ulti, with Claire landing a stun, which has been so successful.
Ultimate lands, and over the wall goes Claire, immediately flashes on, will get stunned up, but fantastic kill.
And the timing is just so good. Baron now spawning 20 minutes. Claire
takes big damage, will get eaten up as well. So, needs to be careful.
I think on the jungler, but it is mid lane that will be the priority here. It's very hard to step up against an Orianna, especially when you don't have access to Varus ulti or Claire's ulti on the Aurelia as well. So instead, they just buy some time for Mimic in the side lane. Caught back up a little bit in terms of CS, and is now just getting a big chunk of the turret.
Meanwhile, however, you see he's gone. Mini gets knocked up, no flash available. Will get silenced. Pyke is also coming down. 1 auto for the slow. He gets the slow out in response. No knock up this time. Rogue will go for the play and will not. Will actually get the hook. Turret goes down in the mid lane, but this should be Mimic getting blown up. Rogue trying to continue it. Will take his cut.
And Q from Pyke just lasts so deceptively long. He holds on to it. Mimic just dashing back and forth. No access to the flash, so ultimately he does fall down. Legacy, they did take down the mid turret. They got a response on the other side and now looking to contest blue.
Yeah, that mid turret, a little bit doomed. Swiffer will get his blue buff. They use Talia wall to check the Baron there, which is a big deal because it means that it's certainly on their mind at this stage of the game that the 4-0-4 Aurelia will make short work of it.
And you saw Triple in the interview talk about Dials when they set up around those Barons with their 2 comps today. They didn't have the ability to turn. They had like a Trundle. Their best turn was Vladimir. This is a composition with Claire and Aurelia with a 5-man slow. If you funnel up a choke, you have Mimic on the Mega Gnar that can look for a flank. You have Raid with CC on the AD carry. So if Legacy do set up, it's very hard for Order to face check. They don't have a Tahm Kench to eat someone out. So anyone that actually gets hit by CC will probably immediately die to Claire at this point, sitting very strong at 2 items.
The problem is like, I agree, Claire will probably kill anyone on the Order lineup apart from maybe Tally in very short order. But Tally's going to throw down a knock-up to stop the rest of the follow-up coming through. Swiffer's going to just put the ball in the choke of Baron. So unless they turn very cohesively on the back of that, if they make one mistake, Legacy has known to hesitate around the Baron area. It's going to be very hard to get out of that pit.
And timing is ever so important. You saw it in the earlier game. Mega Gnar has to be on point, and that's going to be something that Legacy have to play around if they do ever set up around the Baron. Talk about still about 3,000 gold in the lead. Blue Orb does go out to Spot Order looking for a cheeky play.
Hook is on, will miss. Potential follow-up there from the Shockwave. You can see they want to get the CC down onto Mimic so they can bring the Kai'Sa in this time.
Yep, because you can sit so far back in the jungle on a pink ward in that bush, and if Tally lands the CC, then you can walk forward. You have the move speed from Urias Kai'Sa, and you can get into range for that ulti. It's incredibly deceptive and very hard to deal with as a side laner like Mimic on the Gnar right now. Did go for the Wit's End once again, so wants this split push build, wants to get himself some pressure in the side lane, but is struggling to actually hit the turret. He's just sieging in waves, and ultimately the pressure's now been floating towards Claire on the
wall
top side.
coming, and that will cut off Decoy into the corner. Can they grab him? They pull him back over. FBI is here. Shockwave just used for the 1 pick. Now they will actually try and get the stun off the back of Rogue's ult as well, so they use everything.
But Decoy has flash. Why doesn't he just use it to get over the wall, take the respectful play, and get yourself to safety? It does mean Claire gets top turret, but ultimately that would have dropped anyway. Order looking for the play. They find the pick, and Decoy falls down.
And I think the fact that the pick is at this stage, and it is going to be 30% cooldown reduction on Swiffer, maybe not as big a deal as I thought it would be, but 2 ultimates for a kill onto a support is getting dangerously close to turn territory if you make a mistake before the ultimates are up.
Yep. Super interesting there. FBI just going to farm this one up. Both AD carries have now hit that 2-item mark. Bulk Ginsus for the Varus and Storm Razor Ginsus for the Kai'Sa here. Swiffer on the Orianna, just matching the waves. Claire absolutely has supremacy in the side lane if he ever goes up there. So you see Swiffer waiting a very long time until the wave is firmly on Order's side of the map to clear out the waves.
However, going Giants belt, not GA, interests me because I would argue that Claire, if he falls off damage-wise for building up something like Aranduans, they could struggle as they're going to go over the wall. Shockwave onto 3 members, the flick onto 2, but over the wall goes Claire, and you can see already doing so much damage. They're trying to get some CC, but they just can't get anything. Still, he's shut down, and Tally on the back end of this fight is so damn tanky. Flick again will be flashed away from. Hook is on, and it grabs Raid, but the snipe is also going to be there. And do they continue this fight as FBI knock-up is good and will pick up another kill. Flick onto Decoy. Now FBI can look to continue this fight, and Tally is full health. Ultimate will be used, and they will try and chase people down. Does he go over the wall? Yes, he does. FBI so brave. Mimic will clean him up, and that will be Mimic looking to now pick up Spooks as well, but he gets eaten. In the end, it's an ace for 3.
Yeah, and that's just so close. Legacy looking to go on the proactive, but they don't have the vision set up over the wall. Huge Shockwave starts it off, and choke points for both of these teams are just a huge deal. You have Aurelia going over the wall, baits out, what, like 3 stopwatches, I think, on the back end of this one. Spooks uses his to dodge the spear that would have cleaned him up on the back end. At this point, with your biggest damage threat down, it's very brave for Legacy to keep committing. Only splits off the side, does get a very nice pick with Raid's Q on the back end of Swiffer, so he falls down, but they just keep committing to the play. Stealth from FBI gets him into melee range of only before he knows anything is going on, and Decoy at this point, no flash, no ability to run away, and Legacy just have to leave. Yeah,
they used so little at the start of the fight. Really, that was one Shockwave that started at all. Rogue with the harpoon saved the back end of that team fight. If Raid had have been able to create some distance, would have been able to start pummeling the melee members.
Yep.
Swiffer is way overextended right now.
Looking to get down the turret, but they're not looking to chase this one, just looking for the Ocean Drake. Legacy stacking them up very nicely. If this game goes the distance and Elder Drake is up and available, then Order's hands are sort of tied in terms of trading across the map, because this is a fairly even game at this point. 13 to 13 in kills.
Over the wall they go. That's 2 members. Claire is one of them. Stun will register. He has Zonya's Hourglass, and FBI is onto Raid. That is the ultimate use. That's going to be a 3-man Shockwave again. Swiffer absolutely tearing them apart, but Claire will not be able to get FBI, but a big stun there. FBI is still somehow alive. Decoy trying to run for his life, but Rogue looking to get in here, looking for Mimic, pulls him back over, and this is a wash. 4 members dead, and no one falls from Order.
And every single time Legacy look to go for the fight, something denies Claire the kill, and then once he falls, so does the rest of Legacy, and they had such an advantage. Now Gold Lead dead even, and Order are going to get Baron.
Certainly should be the case, however, only still up and available. We'll take another look at it.
Because you said Swiffer was caught out on the bot side. He walks the greedy way through the jungle. Abyssal Voids gets them in the back. FBI does very well at this point to save his mid laner, and the backhand Shockwave, plus the AoE damage from Rogue, from Spooks. Mimic can't get into the backline, so only gets 2 members with the ultimate. FBI doesn't even die, and Tally, that is an enormous choker. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but Righteous Glory means you're not getting away anytime soon, and they just get cleaned up.
And he just keeps eating the front line.
Yep.
I think that is so smart coming out of Tally. The knock up on only when he was looking to execute FBI, and then the ability to just continually, if someone from Legacy dives onto his carries, he just uses it for the initial burst of damage.
Rogue face checks in Italy here, and Stealth will get him the hell out of dodge. As we saw during the replay, Order do pick up Baron. I said Tally was a huge Cho'Gath before. He's only getting even bigger.
How is he so tall?
How many stacks does he have? He has 10 stacks. He's enormous. He's working on his
he just
item.
hit 16. I was like, Tally's had a growth spurt.
He looks like the Balrog.
His
tail is enormous. You know, you're making Lord of the Rings references earlier, Gandalf.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I reckon if Tally's in his face, then he will pass.
We see the bottom lane. Tier 1 still up and available, and finally Order will take it down. Still only a 2,000 gold lead. Still a 4-2-5 Aurelia. But I think the fact that he didn't have the BF sword is what cost it there. I think the defensive itemization, both games, has really hurt. Mimic now going to be caught off. Doesn't have the flash to get over, however, does have a hook. Gets pulled back. Once again, gets eaten by Tally. And this dinosaur will not be stopped.
10 stacks to 11. You talked about the damage fall off from Claire. The last 2 fights has been so close to picking up a kill and falling down.
Hook is on Decoy. Nearly comes over the wall. The flick will miss. The knock-up will miss. Stun looking to register only onto the Cho'Gath, and now they're on the turret.
And you're not getting through this Cho'Gath at this point. 6k HP, but before he even has anything like a gargoyle, he's just so big. The inhib will be going down basically for free. Knock up, almost landing onto Raid, in order to just back away.
They try and chase out now, only on the flank, looking for some harass, but Order will be able to use those empowered Baron recalls to get out of dodge.
Can they do? Synchronized bases come through from multiple members. Just look to deploy on the top side of the map. They still have at least a third left on the Baron, so they have quite a while to set this one up. Only looking to, against the tempo, try and steal away a couple of camps. Q's the blue. Isn't there, so just going to take a Scuttle Crab. That's super rough. They got to struggle to defend this one. Gold lead very even between these two teams, but the fact that this composition from Legacy, like, Claire has to dive in, which means he is absolutely 100% going to get eaten by Tally.
It's a big Cho'Gath.
And that makes the team fights very hard front to back. They have to get a huge flank onto someone like FBI or Swiffer if they're ever going to find a fight, but against a Baron, against Order being able to just set up a mid lane and pick the fights they want, that's very tough.
Certainly is. Knockup will land onto Raid. He will have to be eaten, so Tom not really going to be all that useful. Mimic is looking for the flank. He's looking to build Mega, but this is going to be the second inhibitor going down. Order will go through the choke point, but Mimic doesn't pull the trigger. I think that was their shot.
Could have had it follow up from Aurelia.
Could have had the 5-man ultimate, nearly.
Yep, if Order ever clump up, Nah ulti, Aurelia ulti disarms absolutely everyone. Varus doesn't have a rune arms, but AoE damage, nothing to be scoffed at. If you can lock people down, the chains of corruption spreading over the top, and it's definitely potential. Maybe just didn't want to look for the fight. Maybe looking to play this one slow, but that's 2 inhibs going down. Gold lead still tracking in Order's favor, so it's going to be rough continuing this sort of trajectory.
And I feel like when the game gets to double inhibitor down, you're now saying we're waiting for your mistake.
Yep, okay.
At this stage of the game, 5,000 gold lead. Order only one wave to push in. Unless they make a botch, they should just be able to siege down this turret, and then it becomes a case of ending the game. If they do make a mistake, Legacy's inhibitors come back up. They're going to have a lot more gold at that point in the game. You know, anything is possible, but I feel like that was the one opportunity to take the game back into your own hands.
And when you get to this late in the game, and as you trend later and later, mistakes get more and more costly because of death timers, but the fact that there's the discrepancy between these two teams mean that Order now have buttons to get it, like, it's a jail, get out of jail free card is the words I'm trying to say. They now have a stopwatch on the Kai'Sa, Zhonya's for the Talia, for the Orianna, so if any carry ever gets engaged on, they have that stasis effect to go into, Tally to reposition in front, block out that damage, so the options are few and far between, and if Legacy ever find one, they're going to have to take it.
And you can see the Merc Scimitar built as kind of the luxury item. They once again use the wall, only will be trapped by himself.
And Mimic desperately trying to build Mega in the mid lane, but that's a hook onto Claire. Silence comes through.
Yeah, pull him in again. And the flick is onto the Tahm Kench. He will take a little bit of damage. Knock up onto double members. They pull Tahm even further back. He has to burn the flash.
And Tahm Kench is the priority target here. If you go onto a carry, he's going to get devoured out of any sort of damage. Mimic's Meganar is timing out. If they're going to go on this inhib, it has to be soon.
Yeah, and Order's just not letting them. You can see they're waiting for the bottom creep wave to just build up. Push in, they're stepping a little bit further forward. Ball onto FBI, he'll continue the siege here. Claire wants it, good ultimate flash out already from FBI. Tally is so low, but a shockwave onto 4 members, and Swiffer tears them apart. Tally finally shut down. Flash out by only, but Super Creep's already in the base. They can just stay here.
Yeah, they can. Legacy, they find a pretty decent fight. They go 1-for-1 with Tally. He actually dies on the enormous Cho'Gath. Hook goes wide. There's a little bit more damage.
Flick is on, and they delete the AD carry. Into the back line goes FBI. Raid will resurrect, but he will fall down. And Order now only have to go through Mimic. He gets pulled back in, and he's just not that tanky. Gets the Mega Knight, gets 1 kill, but there is already Super Creeps on the Nexus. Nexus turret number 1 will fall. Nexus turret number 2 on the way, and it's taken them 3 times. But 3rd time is the charm, as Order will finally take down Legacy.
And I feel like Order make that game-winning play, specifically Rogue, more than any other team or player in the league. Against the tempo, when you have 2 inhibs down on the 3rd, they always pull the trigger between waves. They just tank up the turret, but Rogue has flash, and they just look for the hook. In that situation, Spooks lands the flick, and they just hardcore dive the backline. Kai'Sa's the AD carry that's up and available so that they can continue to dive with the damage there, and ultimately, that's the straw that broke the camel's back, and that was the game.
And they look pretty happy
They should
on
be.
your screen right now. 2-0 puts them on, I think, now 12 points. Is that right?
Yep, there were 9, 3 points.
So probably third
Okay.
after this weekend if Chiefs win their game against Avant like a lot of people expect they would.
Yep. Of course, Mammoth unfortunately falling 2-0 to the 0-2 to the Direwolf, so they're sitting on 10. Order now jump up above, so climbing their way back up the ladder.
Certainly are, and that's a good win for Order. You know, decisive plays, 2 different kinds of comps, but really 80 carries, control mages. And if the meta keeps trending in this direction, certainly will benefit them because they are a more standard team than other teams.
I 100% agree. I think they're a team that front to back, they can play traditional mages. Tally can play tanks. He can also play damage, but they like to just have solid picks from the bottom lane, actual 80 carries, not the Vladimir, not the Rise, things like that. And when they do pick those kind of comps, they just look so much more successful.
Yeah, they certainly do. Not to mention, I think that Rogue on proactivity. Like, talk to me about it. As a player, you kind of have an identity, right? You like to play the game a certain way, and he seems to favour the proactive champions more than the Tahm Kench that he was playing last week.
Yep, I mean, every single international event I went to and played Karma, I complained the entire time. And Rogue is, like, honestly the same kind of player. He likes to play the Alistar, likes to play the Rakan, wants to be the one to engage. And I was talking about his decisiveness, especially on the Alistar game. That is what makes him so good at that sort of playstyle, because he will just pull the trigger on engage immediately. And if you're a Janna and you see that engage, you're like, hey, Sam, go in. And it's just not quite as good when you can't just immediately go for the play. And honestly, they just look good when Rogue can pull those off.
Certainly does. So double 2-0 for the night. And to get their thoughts on that game, let's throw it back over to our world-class analyst hangout.
World class.
World class indeed.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think
so as well.
Yeah.
I mean, world class doesn't necessarily mean good. It
No.
just means like
In a
a
class of their
within
own.
the world. Yeah. Congratulations to Order for their 2-0 victory. Now we thought we would change it up here because a lot of our analysis and advice has been from how to deal with loss at the bottom of the league food
Bronze
path.
5 loss strategies.
Yeah, but we should deal with a Bronze 5 win strategy.
Yeah, I think Order now, like there are lessons that they can take from Bronze
Please.
solo queue that will see them go further through. I think one of the things that we were talking about, which is really important, is if you've decided in this game that the champion's quite good, just play them forever.
Play them forever.
Always,
Yeah.
always.
It's the
Tell
only
everybody.
champion.
Go into there's this great thing which we like to call insta-locking, which is a very powerful strategy, which is just go into a queue. It doesn't matter what lane you are, it doesn't matter who else there is. Insta-lock that champion, then say, it's okay, I'm basically again, challenger or whatever. I mean, these are pro players, so they're probably better than that. And then just flame everyone.
I think that's a really good point. And off the back of that as well, my advice would be that when you have found that champion, and traditionally that champion is the first champion that you won a game with, you should immediately buy all the skins as well.
And that
because
champion
you
should be
go-
Yasuo or Master Yi.
I think that's probably a good
Yeah.
advice as well, because it doesn't matter how many times you die in games going forward, because you have those very expensive, very fancy skins, you are inherently the best player
And
on the
just
team.
flash that Mastery 5, because
Flash it
nothing
all the
says complete control of a champion like Mastery 5.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for being on the couch for the evening. I hope
was
you've
lots
had
of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to have you back because I feel like I've had an equal here, and that's been very healthy for
Take that,
me.
Tubes.
Take that, Jubes. You wonderful, talented bastard. But we're going to throw it back to the desk for FBI.
Thank you very much, Nick. And I think that if nothing else, this has been an experience. We are joined by FBI now, 80 carry for Order. Vicky.
Yep.
GG, mate.
Thank you.
Double Kaiser games.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the character right now?
Like, honestly, I didn't think Kai'Sa was very good. Like, Sam, like, Spook was telling me to play Kai'Sa, and I was kind of, like, writing it off. But the second I saw Def play it in LCK, I knew that was time to return to Kai'Sa.
Is he your favorite? Is
Yeah,
he like
yeah.
your AD carry? You're like
Ruler
a death
is
boss,
his
right?
AD.
Ruler,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that because Ruler just gets a Tahm Kench to eat him out of
it's
any
'cause-
danger every game?
Nah, Ruler's, like, the only stream, like, LCK AD streamer that, like, streams often. And Bang, but, like, it's not
Okay.
that good. So,
Okay,
yeah.
that's cool. I want to ask you less about Kai'Sa and more just like AD carry in general. Do you like playing AD carries and the nerfs to TP, things like that, in terms of disincentivizing mages, Sway and Rise in the bottom lane? Is that something you agree with?
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm a lot better at ADs than like these majors. I've spent like my whole career playing ADs. I know like most of the matchups and stuff like that. So when you throw me into like Vladimir, like Swain and stuff like that, I can play the champs, but like I don't have complete knowledge of like the lane, if you know what I mean. So yeah.
All right,
So-
and obviously tough loss against Chiefs last week, especially given the fact that against one of your very good friends in Ryoma. How did you bounce back this week? What is the training looking like for Order at the moment?
I think honestly after the loss, we were we had like a meeting, and after that, I think it started to click together. I'm not really too sure, to be honest. But yeah.
Okay, so maybe another crisis meeting to add to the list.
Come on, back me up. No crisis meetings.
No
in the
crisis.
IHL.
No
Thank
crisis
you.
meeting. There was no crisis.
My last question is something I feel like you haven't learnt your lesson, because in that game, bottom lane, you know, I think something like you missed like a W, or somebody missed a CC on you, and then you were spamming a moat in the middle of the lane.
Oh.
Last time I saw you do that, Hughes bopped you in the head.
Oh,
So
no.
like, what's going on?
Yeah, like it's like a confidence building thing, you know. You like
The mental warfare, getting in their head.
Yeah. That's it. That's the only reason I do it.
Okay, that's flame, dude. That's there's been a lot of flame on the show today, especially from over there.
Certainly has been. One thing that lots of people wouldn't know from a public perspective is Anero is currently helping Aaron and Order out. What has he done this week for you?
Oh, he's definitely brought a lot to the team. I think we were kind of lost. Yeah, we were kind of lost.
Nice meme.
Echo Fox locked. Yeah. Yeah, we were kind of lost. I think Anero helped really solidify like our knowledge of the game, because I think we were kind of lacking in certain areas, like especially in the early game. And Anero, like in the past 2 days, he's helped a lot, and well, I think it showed today.
Certainly did. Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
the 2-0 victory. We'll throw it back over to the couch to close out the night.
Bryce is just angry because we showed out the fact that he knows about all those anti-diarrhea medications. It's been a lovely evening. Now we are going to close it out with a look at the results from today. Direwolves took out Mammoth in a very decisive 2-0 victory, and Legacy could not stand up against the Order of Order, who took them out in a 2-0 similarly. Tomorrow we're going to be looking at Bombers versus Tectonic and the Chiefs taking on Avant Gaming. It should be a very exciting series tomorrow, because we've got a lot of teams, I don't know if you know, we've got a lot of teams that are sort of all sitting around the same level. So every game that they're playing seems to be massively changing the ladder, so I am very excited about tomorrow night. Thank you very much for hanging out. Where can people find you? Where can they hear your dulcet tones again?
So I'm on Twitter at Dave Harmon, but also I am the Dungeon Master of Dragon Friends, which I play with Hingers, who is also sat on this very couch. And that's a show where we take a bunch of comedians and we just play Dungeons & Dragons until we hate each other. And we've been playing it for 4 years, and we hate each other.
Did you hate each other after the first one? Because that's my experience with Dungeons &
15
Dragons.
minutes into the first one. And that's a podcast, and you can find it at thedragonfriends.com.
If you want to hear people hate each other in something other than League of Legends, then check that out. We will be back tomorrow. Thank you very much to everyone here. Thank you to FBI. Thank you to Bryce. Thank you to Jake. Thank you to Dave. Thank you to me. Thank you to Hungry Jacks. We will see you guys tomorrow.
Over the wall, gets a very nice spear in,
Oh,
and
what?
splashes the wrong way. And double kill for Claire. And then, very nice flash. Claire still dancing around, still looking for the damage. Rogue will get one with the ultimate. Hook is on, and it grabs Raid. But the snipe is also going to be there. And do they continue this fight as FBI knock-up is good and will pick up another kill. And Tally is full health. Ultimate will be used, and they will try and chase people down. Does he go over the wall? Yes, he does. FBI so brave. Mimic will clean him up, and that will be Mimic looking to now pick up Spooks as well, but he gets eaten. In the end, it's an ace for 3. That is the ultimate use. That's going to be a 3-man shockwave again. Swiffer absolutely tearing them apart, but Claire will not be able to get FBI, but a big stun there. FBI is still somehow alive. Decoy trying to run for his life, but Rogue looking to get in here, looking for Mimic, pulls him back over, and this is a wash. 4 members dead. Flick is on, and they delete the AD carry. Into the back line goes FBI. Raid will resurrect, but he will fall down, and it's taken them 3 times, but 3rd time is the charm, as Order will finally take down Legacy.